Welcome to the Gaming Coop, the best space to talk about games that make you feel good. Let's introduce today's players. Player 1, 7-foot frame, rats along his back. When he calls your name, it all fades to black. Yet he sees your dreams and feasts on your screams. Hey, we don't talk about Matt. No. We don't talk about Matthew.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Player 2 is an upcoming platform game developed by Gabe Team and published by Sega. As Gabe, the player explores the mysterious Starfall Islands to collect the Chaos Emeralds after Gabe falls through a wormhole. It's Gabe.
What? This is a plot to Sonic Frontiers.
Yeah, congrats. It's you now.
Oh.
They have to do all the new marketing for it.
Okay.
Player 3 got apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur, got the whole club looking at Anthony. Player 4, East, I thought you said Weast. It's Walsh. Player 5, time for more alien tomfuckery. It's Kelsey. And Player 6, you can find this lad playing a rousing game of beach stickball just about every evening before sunset. It's Chris. Me.
Hi,
Anyways,
Chris.
Yeah, hi. Welcome, everyone, to the Gaming Coop. This month, we're going to be talking about Wholesome games. My favorite brand of video game. It is basically anything that is just meant to kind of like give you just like nice feelings, and sometimes it's cute, sometimes it can get dark, but overall it's meant to be like a good time all around that is just it isn't meant to kind of be like any of the try-hard bullshit that you tend to see in gaming. And it's also just like it doesn't even have to be the game itself. It's also just like experiences with video games that you could consider wholesome as well. And we're gonna start with a game that has taken the world by storm in the month of September. It is Splatoon 3, and Matt, you're gonna talk about it.
Hi, that's me. I'm talking about Splatoon 3. Probably when you said free of that try-hard bullshit, that's not this game.
That's true, yes.
However, Splatoon 3 is a fantastic game. It's only been out for a week, and it's already like probably my favorite Splatoon game. In trying to stick to, I'll mainly stick to the wholesome elements, but it is like my favorite single-player mode, other than maybe Octo Expansion in the series, and the ranked mode so far, and the general multiplayer stuff has been really, really good. I'm excited for more Splatfests, but in terms of the wholesome element to it, Splatoon does a lot of like really fun world building that always puts a smile on my face. The big thing that Splatoon 3 does, who I fucking love, and they're my favorite part about the game, is Deep Cut. The announcers for this game, Shiver, Fry, and Big Man are all very, very fun characters. I love their interactions, and just Big Man in general is such a design, such a great character.
Such a design.
Such a design, honestly. And just the whole aesthetic of like, even though this is supposed to be like a Mad Max type, this game is out in the Splatlands. And it's supposed to be like this Mad Max type aesthetic to it, and a few of the maps are like that, but not everything. Overall, it's just a really good, really fun environment to be in. They really make the world feel full, like it's inhabited, and it is like post-apocalyptic Earth, which is another not so wholesome element. But the culture around like turf wars and doing stuff like this, the different weapons, this is all really well thought out, and it all feels extremely natural and fitting for this setting. I really, really like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think the biggest thing about this game, well, like, I guess you could say with Splatoon, there's definitely the try hard people who don't make the game very fun, but Nintendo, when this series first popped up, they never had a super successful shooter outside of, I don't know,
Devil's Third.
or Duck Hunt, or fucking. I mean, I guess GoldenEye was theirs for a time being.
Yeah.
But this is just, it's just not that kind of company. They are very much family focused, and so how can you get into that shooting genre? Make it not as violent, and in a way kind of make it wholesome in that sense. And what they decided to do is have it be like paintball, but it's ink and it's squids, and it's really like it was really a creative idea, and the fact that it has landed for people as well as it did when it first came out, and every subsequent entry, it just consistently is showing that they're improving the brand a lot as well. I just beat the story mode a few nights ago, and it was so much fun. Like, nothing against the first two games at all, but I felt like it was just one of the... It felt like Splatoon 3 was just such an evolutionary step for the story mode. Obviously, I know a lot of the elements came from Octo expansion, so that kind of that growth was kind of already there for the DLC for Splatoon 2, but in terms of just like the mainline stuff, like the fact that they were able to make it a little bit more like non-linear and had a lot of different options for different challenges to take on, I think is what really makes it so much more fun. And I think also just all the characters, they're I absolutely love Small Fry, and I think that's just a very cute character that they had as your sidekick throughout the game. I thought that was a very neat idea that they had, kind of combining like the storylines of Salmon Run into the main storyline as well. Anyone else have thoughts on Splatoon?
It's so fucking good. It's so fucking good. Like, oh my god.
Absolutely. Anything else that you want to touch on, Matt?
Yeah, wanted to talk about the Splatfests as well, which are always the best parts about the games, in my opinion. Being able to like choose your side, do some fun battles. The stage changes to a cool night theme. They're not always the most like stress free times in the world, but they're still a lot of fun to do. I like the idea of mixing it up with 3-way Splatfest this time. They used to just be 2-way, but now that there are 3 hosts, you can do it 3 ways. And I think that's a cool evolution of the Splatfest idea. And it's also really funny how heated for no reason people get about Splatfest choices.
Yeah. Well, that's just the toxicity in general, I think.
Right, of internet,
right,
and video game people.
Video games.
Yeah.
It especially, I think, through the first 2 Splatfests thus far, where I genuinely feel like the choices don't matter.
No, it's not like which condiment do you prefer, ketchup or mayonnaise, where if you choose mayonnaise, you're a serial killer. But
well, I guess I guess I'm a serial killer then. Jesus Christ!
I'm kidding.
But yeah, no, like that's always gonna exist there. But I think that it is a fun way to like divide people up and kind of cause a little bit of debate along with some fun gameplay. What are your guys' thoughts right now? I know it's only happened once, but on like the 3 teams per in a map type arena battle.
I hope they adjust it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That is Splatoon 3. Next up, we're gonna talk about another Nintendo game. And this time more so, I guess, focused on like the multiplayer aspect of it. But hey, we could just talk about the entire game because it is a absolute delight. It is Super Mario 3D World. Gabe, take it away.
All right. So, this time I will be talking about the multiplayer, as you said. Just like Splatoon, it's not always so wholesome, but
No.
It's generally like a really good time, especially with among friends / like friendly rivals, because there are a couple aspects that lean into more competitive settings, but I really wanted to reminisce about a time where it was like earlier in Matt's and I's friendship, when he still had a YouTube channel. So Matt, my brother, and another friend of ours decided to record and play through Super Mario 3D World, pretty much the entirety, except for Special Worlds, was it?
Yeah, we just did through Bowser.
Yeah, we just did through the main campaign, and it's honestly one of my most cherished memories, like, ever, because it was such a fun time, just hanging out with my brother and my friends. It was just so much fun, especially because we tended to be, what's the term? I guess edgy with how we played, because there was the crown aspect of the game, because in Mario 3D World, when you play multiplayer, each player's score gets tallied at the end of each stage. And whoever gets the most points out of all four of them will get a crown on their head, and that the player gets to wear that crown throughout all the rest of the stages, depending on their placement. However, it can be knocked off that player's head. So, a lot of the time, it was my brother and Eliel. They would just compete. Actually, me too. We would just compete over who wears the crown on their head all the time, and it was frustrating, yeah, but it was still really funny because of how much each of us wanted that crown.
It was funny. I would just get the high score and get the crown at the end of the level, but
yeah, because we were so distracted with each other.
I think 3D World is definitely, well, I guess Galaxy 2 is like the level is level based, but I just love the way that 3D World is just designed from front to back. Like, just has the elements of like the 2D games of like looking for like the three secret like objects throughout the level, and then just the overall like trying just to maneuver your way, trying to deal with enemies occasionally, and just kind of, it's all about like the timing and things. Like, it's just, there's just so many things in that game that just work out so well. I loved how many new things that they introduced into the game that weren't in previous Mario entries as well. A lot of new enemies, obviously the cat ability, like they
cat ability is so goddamn fun.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I think like all of that to me just added so much to the game, and I think I think that what was great about the game releasing last year on the Switch was seeing so many more people get to experience that game. I mean, obviously for me, I got to experience it more through getting it on the Switch, because I hadn't been in it, but I had certainly played a good amount of it. And I didn't like it at the time, but after playing through it and then playing Bowser's Fury, like both of those games just were like, it just both skyrocketed for me, like among my favorite Mario games. They're just it's just so good, and I the multiplayer aspect, I know, like I haven't really played a ton of multiplayer. I know I played occasionally or like a little bit with Walsh and Skylar once, but that's about it, I think. But it is definitely one of those that, like, it's so much fun to work together and get to the end together, but to have that added competitive element to it is what's gonna create memories, and hopefully no one's mad when it's all said and done.
Remember Nintendo's deleted tweet that was like, "Man, nothing feels better than being inside of a cat."
Oh my
What?
god!
Oh my god!
I forgot about that.
Oh
completely.
no! I don't remember this.
Yeah, I have a vague memory of it. It was either around the time of the Wii U launch, or they did it like during the Switch launch. It was during one of the two launches, and they tweeted that out. It's just like, oh, good job, Nintendo. This is disturbing. But yeah. Anyone else have thoughts on? So I think, Gabe, you were about to say something on the game.
Yeah. I also wanted to touch on the newly added online multiplayer for the Switch release.
Oh, yeah.
I managed to play through the game with some other friends, and we had a grand time. I even got to complete Champions Road with someone else for the first time.
Awesome. How did the online feel? Because I know that there were some people that were not that there were some complaints obviously about online, but was it overall pretty good?
Well, it generally depends on how good the each person's online, like each person's internet is, but
Sure.
I generally had a pretty smooth experience.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that is something I have thought about if I wanted to really like pursue Champions Road, because I've enjoyed I've enjoyed 100%ing a Mario before and just haven't really 100%ed any of the others, but those levels just from a distance have always looked like a lot of fun, despite I'm sure their major frustration.
Champions Road is not your friend.
Alright, when I first played it back in the day, it took me 1,000 lives.
Absolutely. Yep. No, I recognize that. It still looks fun though. I feel like it's not like it's one of those that it's just like it's annoying, but like you still want to keep going just because it's like there's so many fun mechanics that they throw in that kind of that is the recap of Super Mario 3D World. And I always love those like summation levels, how well they end up coming together.
There's one in Splatoon 3 for you.
I know I started playing that yeah.
Oh yeah.
It definitely has a difficulty spike for sure. But yeah. All right. Enough of this AAA bullshit, all right? The indie games are where it's at with the wholesome stuff, all right? Especially when you have wholesome backstories, and that's where the coin game comes in. Anthony, tell us about it.
Sure. So, the coin game is an indie game made by Devoted Media, and Devoted Media is a single dev who's been working on this game for the last 4 and change years, and it's really quite impressive for what it is. He's made these incredibly faithful representations of your favorite arcade games, even some that you probably haven't ever seen, and he puts them in this game that is sort of like a little simulation. You're this kid in a town full of smart robots that kind of look like I guess those robots that you see in some grocery stores now.
They kind of look like pills.
Yeah, kind of like pills. That are 4 feet tall.
Yeah, normal pills that you see walking around. They're 4 feet tall and like.
Don't say normal pills.
Oh God. I don't know what that is.
But
we don't have to go into it.
But as you play the arcade games, you earn these arcade tickets, and you get to feed them into the ticket counter, and then you buy little prizes that you get to hold on to and display either in the garage at your house or in your room. And of course, you stay with your grandma, who has a cat. The cat is also a robot, which is adorable. And there are several different areas that you can go to. Overall, you're in this town, and the town is cute. It's like, we go to Lake George every year. Well, not every year. Almost every vacation we go to Lake George. And, you know, there are just little areas nearby the tourist town. And this feels like that, because everything is really fun and fresh, and there are these little mom and pop shops everywhere. And that is exactly the feeling that this game evokes. And there are a number of different arcades, and each have their own theme that extends to the games and the prizes that they award you. And this is going to be a shocker for you guys, but I can't tell if my favorite arcade is the UFO-themed one or the pirate-themed one.
Wow, yeah. Stunner. Truly stunning.
Yeah, because I love UFO-themed stuff.
Sure.
And the UFO one has laser tag and kart racing. But the pirate one has mini golf. So it's a tough decision, but ultimately you can go to both. I play in a mode that's called birthday party mode. and that is in opposition to survival mode. In birthday party mode, you are baby. You are given your allowance. You can use the money machines whenever you want to just get money because it's your birthday. In survival mode, you have to do chores. Like, you have to mow people's lawns for money, and then you have to go and buy food, and you have to be back home by curfew, which is really fun. But when I'm playing this game, I just want to play the coin pusher for 2 hours.
Oh my god, don't even get me started on coin pushers.
The coin pushers are so much fun, but my favorite is this ball drop game. You can see that I changed my Discord name to Lava Mayhem Ball Drop. And it's kind of like a coin pusher if you used balls instead of coins, and if there was an eruption every so often. But anyway, yeah, in a nutshell, that's the coin game. And it's just really relaxing. Some people say it's a little creepy. It has that sort of liminal space feel.
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. Oh, and you can drive around. You get your own golf cart. Chris was watching me play it a few months ago, and my golf cart ran out of gas, and I just fucked around.
Yeah, you had to like wait for the bus, which was like speeding down the roads, and like not think it was going to stop at any time soon. Like it was.
It's adorable. You can take the bus to go
Yeah.
where you want to go. You
Right.
get a bus ticket. You actually sit and watch the bus drive you around.
Although, wasn't there one point where like you were in the bus for a little bit, and then I think you went to leave, and then all of a sudden you just clipped through the ground, and then you just. I think you had to restart.
I glitched out so bad. They put me into like a ghost version of the town where I found the starting arcade, aka Larry's arcade, but it was completely dark with no machines and nobody in it. It was really weird
It's
and a little
creepy.
existential. But then I restarted and everything was back to normal.
Yeah. I want this game very badly. I would love a multiplayer birthday mode where you could just hang out with friends in all these different arcades. There's even a like county fair, not county fair, but like a street fair-esque like amusement park that is happening in the distance that you can drive over to. There's also like some like interesting like mysterious things that are happening like that you can investigate as well, that may lead to some like an arcade. Like there's a few times that like that Anthony would go out exploring and he'd stumble upon like he was like, oh, what is this thing, and it would actually turn out to be a whole different arcade. And it looks like it's so much fun. As someone who loves arcades and loves going to them when we're on vacation, it's just like, oh, I no longer need to leave my house. Like I could just stay here and go to these virtual arcade places because it is just so delightful. I really 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 want to play it for my own sake. It's still in early development. I don't know if it's gonna be launching like out of early access anytime soon, but I definitely, even though I haven't touched it and Anthony has, like I could second the fact that you all should go out and try it because it is very fun.
Yeah, and like the simulation of the games and the games included is absolutely bonkers. Like, I just shared a screenshot. They have that stacking game where you need to stop the moving blocks to build a platform. On the right, you can see that game where you pull like the lever and it spins that giant wheel. They have, I think, almost every kind of arcade game I've played, and the physics in them is spot on. And you should definitely buy this game. The dev shared that they were able to buy a house out in the woods and they live there with their wife and their dogs. And if that's not the life that we all want, why aren't we living it? You know?
Yeah, it is awesome that they were able to kind of like that he was able to kind of create all these arcade games and not necessarily use like the copyright behind them. Like he didn't have to like get any, or at least as far as we know, he didn't have to like pay any like legal fees to try to get specific arcade games in this game. He was able just to rebrand them with his own names, I'm sure, or hell, maybe some of these are actually real. Like I don't know if he ever goes into details about it, but it's just really, really impressive, like how like even the machinery itself in the arcade machines look very realistic, and it's just like, that is like that is just a very cool attention to detail.
When you guys were describing the point at which Anthony was wandering around and came across kind of the abandoned arcade, it reminds me of when we were researching going to Connecticut, and it came across that really weird off the grid like Adam's Funhouse or some shit on like a back road that was advertised as an arcade, but there were no reviews, no contact info, and when you went to the Google Map view, it was just like somebody's overgrown property back behind like a gate with like a tunnel. It was very, very weird.
Yeah,
and
it was
it looked
so
like that
strange.
essentially on Google. And it was like you could still go, but it looked like you would essentially be feeding yourself to a murderer.
Yeah.
Which is what this looks like.
Sorry, just sharing all of the screenshots.
This is a bit off topic, but the time that, because around the fall, I like to try to take Skylar pumpkin picking, and we went to this one patch that we hadn't been before, and we followed the directions there, and it really just looked like the entrance to somebody's overgrown backyard. There was an area to park on like some dirt, but there was no other cars here.
Oh, God.
And we were just looking around, and then like the guy started to like walk out from the cornfield, and we were like, nope, and we just left.
That I hate that. It's like if you are gonna run a business in the middle of nowhere, make it a little bit more welcoming. Like figure it out. There's ways to do that. I will just one more thing on the go-kart place in the UFO arcade. That was one that I'm pretty sure Anthony spent hours trying to get the time for, and it had a very unique mechanic in that it wasn't really that you were racing against the carts themselves. It was more like a time trial thing where you're trying just to be a specific time, which I think some racing games I could think of have done that, where it's more like it's not so much like you don't really care about the obstacles and the racers around you. It's more like get to this point at a specific time. And I thought that was really fun and a cool way to do that instead of leaning on CPUs to have a accurate racing. And also, if you were trying to do like shortcuts too.
So the other racers in the track get in the way.
Yeah.
So if you have a lap where they're in the way, just kiss it goodbye, because they don't share the track, so you're just going to bump into them. They're going to bump into you. I tried ramping over the track. Like, I would hit the wall so hard that I would just skip half the track. But to my chagrin, they disqualify any rounds that you do that. Like, they don't count, which is fine. I even tried today. I played the game a little bit before the Coop just so I could get a feel for it. And again, I tried, and I could not get the first place trophy. I went on the track with my rubber band gun, and I shot rubber bands at the other racers, and I threw my second place trophy onto the track, and none of it mattered. I still could not get first place.
No sabotage, no active sabotaging will even get you a winner.
No.
Oh, that's a shame. That's a shame. But yeah, no, like this is I've actually like I've known about this game for a while. I forget, there was a reason why I like initially took it off my wish list, but after seeing Anthony play through it again, I was just like, okay, no, this is absolutely my shit. I need to jump into this at some point. So I'm very excited that this was the game that you chose, because it fits perfectly for this.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we're already halfway there. So let's just jump right into the mid-seg. I'll throw the commercial after that. Do we have anything for the mid-seg?
Yes, we do.
All
yes,
right.
we do. Guys, we're talking wholesome and relaxing games. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to find some game reviews from some people online that are of some wholesome games, but very negative reviews. I want you guys to try to guess what game they're talking about.
Okay. This is
Now,
gonna piss
usually-
me off, I think. But
Usually on this show, we try to stay very positive, and I will even say, when looking for reviews for these games, it was if I had a certain game in mind, sometimes they were so difficult because I couldn't immediately find a bad review for something that's usually very popular. More so also trying to find the more out there reviews that are very much in the minority opinion, but so do not take these to heart. I promise you, how many of these are serious. I'm very curious about.
Okay,
But,
fair enough.
So and if you guys cannot guess it, I may have a couple other ones that will help additionally as well.
Okay.
All right, here is the first one.
Sorry, is there like a buzzer system? Or are we just yelling out what we think?
Not at all. I'll finish the first review, and then whoever wants to guess may guess. Maybe we'll try. Everybody gets like one guess. This one I do have a second part if we want to go to that. So maybe everybody takes a guess at this first one, and then I'll do the second part of this one. You ready?
Okay. Sounds good.
Nintendo games are really going downhill. And the problem is the fact that people are buying their games due to nostalgia before their parents were divorced.
Jesus Christ.
I'm gonna go with Mario 3D All Stars. That's my
Okay.
guess.
That is not it. Anybody else have any other guesses?
Well, you said the theme is wholesome, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go Animal Crossing because it's Nintendo.
This is Animal Crossing.
Okay.
Wow, I'm very surprised you were able to get it so quickly. I do still want to share the second part, which I think would have given it away a little bit better.
Sure.
The objectives of the game are not clear. There are multiple tasks, but none lead to a greater objective, or at least I did not see any interesting narrative that was spun in the background. It's sad and embarrassing that having superior hardware, such as the Nintendo Switch, the developer has opted that annoying world in perspective of roller, and they would not make the jump to the more open world as other sagas have done.
Wow.
What? Well, that doesn't even make any sense. What about
I know.
It's an open world.
I know.
Like, what's more open about an Animal Crossing? That makes no sense.
All right. All right. Of course, they're expecting Animal Crossing to be a game that is not Animal Crossing. All right, here's my next one. The game is utterly boring. It is nothing but a walking simulator. I have to force myself to play and get through each day, and I have now stopped playing altogether. What am I doing wrong? Every day, I go and either fish or mine, but then run out of energy, so there's nothing to do but sleep, and it's a cycle of rinse and repeat. The farming aspect is slow, crops take a good number of in-game days to grow. It is just so boring.
Stardew Valley.
That is Stardew Valley.
Hell yeah. I was gonna say Minecraft.
I wanted to make this post here because I constantly see comments gushing over how amazing this game is. I've seen comments suggesting a purchase, even without even thinking about it, because it's so good. Well, I'm sorry, but I regret my purchase. And because I forced myself to play for 2 weeks, I have exceeded the refund period. And that was Stardew Valley.
Wow.
All right, here, I'll give you guys another one. Some of these I am cutting to the middle of the reviews.
Sure.
For
It's just
example.
long ranting.
Where do I start? When loading up the game, I have to sit through the same BS prompt, spamming A about 24 times before I can even get to the menu. Absolutely no way to bypass it. Whoever made that decision needs a swift slap. Going to the weapons store brings up another prompt with the same problem. This time I can, quote, speed it up, but I can't skip it, and I've had to sit through this prompt multiple times. It actually discourages me from getting new weapons. Madness. The game forces me to play the same bland game mode for hours before I can reach the required level to try out other game modes. There's only so much shooting I could take before it becomes repetitive and boring.
Splatoon 2.
Wow, you guys are so good at this. Maybe it's because I picked pretty mainstream games that would be a little bit easy to guess. Oh my god, you guys are so good.
It's fair enough. Go ahead, Kelsey.
I was just going to say that if we hadn't already guessed Animal Crossing, to me it sounded like everybody's frustration with Isabelle. Like, obviously you don't go to a main menu after talking to Isabelle, but it reminded me of everybody being like, shut the fuck up, Isabelle, the same shit every day, I don't care about your sock in the dryer.
It's very similar. You can skip that in Splatoon 3, by the way, if you're listening and haven't played Splatoon 3 yet, and you were frustrated about that in previous games.
What's Splatoon 3?
You know.
The new game.
The third one.
Oh, it's one of those gory shooters that promotes violence and bad behavior in children.
Oh, that's the series that came out with 3 but never actually had a 2, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
that's
yes,
the one.
yes. That's exactly it. That's exactly it. With goats, yeah.
I'm going to talk about Goat Simulator 2 next week.
Oh my god.
I have a couple different ones here. So,
Okay.
but this is all for the same game. This will be my last one.
Sure.
This game has really bad graphics and bad game design. Everything is unfair, unpolished, and just generally stupid. I really don't understand why people like this game. Bad game, not worth your time, and not a single penny. It's not even worth for free.
Skyrim.
Deltarune.
Not those.
I missed what Kelsey guessed.
Skyrim.
Oh, Skyrim. Okay.
Elder Scrolls 5.
Give me another review. I feel like the graphics is the only thing I'm hanging up on right now.
I have 3. Yeah, I know. I've been getting a little bit. These are starting more difficultly, and then it's going to keep going.
Sure.
I have 3 of them. That was my first one. Here's the second one. Banning people from private servers. Ooh. Banning people from private servers is censorship and a violation of our freedom of speech.
Oh god.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Ever since Microsoft banned it, it's become woke and censored word. What's censored? It's 4 dots. What can it be? Woke and shit. One of my favorite games is now F tier due to lazy devs and woke management. Do not play.
All right, so what's a game that incels play?
It's Minecraft.
See,
am I right?
I played Minecraft. It is one of the best sandbox games ever made.
Okay.
But it has a huge flaw, a massive flaw, and that is the corporation Microsoft. They are killing this game. Most of the updates are bad, mostly bricking your 4-year-old worlds. They interject so many nasty corporate nonsense into the game, and it has slowly lost its soul. The original Minecraft is an amazing game, buried under this disgusting filth that bought it. Way too many corrupted worlds, and no more true direction for this game. This game will live on, but in what form? Maybe something like an empty McDonald's box of fries.
Oh my god.
What a poet at the end.
Holy shit.
First of all, I absolutely love the excitement that Matt had at Walsh starting to read off the woke part of the Microsoft.
No, it is hilarious. Especially the banning of free speech. Whenever anyone brings that up, I get so fucking excited with how dumb the fucking arguments are. It's just hilarious.
Oh my god.
Wholly misunderstood the point of anything.
Basically, yeah.
And makes themselves out to be the biggest jackass. It's perfect.
That, there is something recently that happened where Minecraft, they implemented, which is can be, I could see where it could be problematic, where Microsoft implemented a banning thing where if you do something in a server, you could get banned from all multiplayer, including private servers. But the problem that people were having was that, like, what if, especially like more bigger Minecrafters that were like, what if someone goes in posing as me and does something and then I get banned because of that? Like, there is like a lot of layers to it. I don't know if it was. I don't think it's because they're woke. I think they're just trying to figure out how the fuck to handle multiplayer at this point. But I don't know. That is so fucking funny though.
Censorship, Chris.
Yeah,
censorship.
That is the true problem of our nation's time.
Censorship of the people.
Yeah.
Why can't I be as racist as I was before?
Well, thank you. That was I like that. I enjoyed that, even though the Animal Crossing one was gonna send me into a tailspin. I
tried to have a little bit for everybody. You know?
Yeah. No, I liked it. I liked it a lot. It was good. I also like the Isabel memes that we've been posting in the chat of turns on Animal Crossing, breaking news, nothing to report. And then Pac-Man about to hit Isabel. Man, she deserved better. Anyways, thank you so much, Walsh. That was great. We're gonna hear from you in just a bit about Plants vs. Zombies Heroes, but before we do that, let me tell you about our sponsors.
No, wait, what?
Hi everyone, it's Chris, and I'm back once again to tell you all about Anchor. Anchor by Spotify has actually been the tool of choice for Team Chaos Productions since the moment we decided to get into podcasting. And the biggest reason for this is it's the easiest way to make a podcast with everything you need all in one place. Anchor has tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer or even your phone. When hosting on Anchor, you can distribute your podcast on listening platforms like Spotify, but also Apple Podcasts and many more. And best of all, Anchor is free. You do not need to worry about any features being locked out to you. You can get it all if you just download the Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Happy podcasting. I'm Chris.
And I'm Matt, and we're the Virtual Ball Boys.
During the NFL season, we will talk about the games and headlines on everyone's minds. Plus, we give our predictions for the weeks ahead.
In the off-season, we run our own fictional football league with tabletop gameplay mechanics.
Like that, listen to the Virtual Ball Boys on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts, and we will see you on the show.
Good night, and good ball.
Hey, we're back. Walsh, you got sucked into the time.
The void. Don't pull me into the void again.
Yeah, that's happened a few times, but you're back. Are you still prepared?
AKA, Walsh, your joke's fucking tired. Stop.
Listen. I brought him into the void before, and I'll do it again. But I want you to tell us about Plants vs. Zombies Heroes once you've taken your breath from the Earth's pull, I guess. I don't know.
You kids like plants?
No.
Take him or leave him.
No.
What are we? What kind of plant are we talking about? Are we talking about
The devil's lettuce? No.
Disco asparagus.
You guys like
said it.
zombies?
What kind of zombies are we talking about?
You know, the
You guys
devil's
like
lettuce kind.
you guys like the hit game Plants vs. Zombies?
Oh yeah, I love
Because-
Plants
Yeah,
vs.
I love that
Zombies.
one.
Oh, because this isn't it.
Oh.
Okay.
So I could talk about Plants vs. Zombies as a wholesome game, but because I find very many of the designs very wholesome. It is a very simple concept of taking both of these things that grow out of the ground and they're gonna fight. You gotta protect yourself with some plants, but instead they have taken that idea and what on paper I truly believe should have just been some cheap, like, money grab superhero concept to just latch on to the popularity of superhero films and their popularity and to make just a quick app. They made a game called Plants vs. Zombies Heroes. And while the premise was not something that immediately grabbed me, it has warmed up to me immensely, and I almost love the game now. And instead, you have the Plants vs. Zombies, except now they've been hit with a strange machine that has given them superpowers, and now a lot of recognizable plants and recognizable zombies are now seen as very specific figures, except they're both heroes. I guess they didn't want to have villains because that would be a little scary for the kids. But it's a card game. It's a strategy card game. And unlike a lot of other strategy card games that I have played, this is one that I constantly keep coming back to and that I am honestly addicted to. I think I was addicted to it for like 2 straight years, and then I dropped it, and then I was like, oh, what am I going to talk about for the Gaming Coop? Oh, well, I'll talk about Plants vs. Zombies Heroes. Let me re-download it, and I have not stopped playing since.
Awesome.
And the thing was, I was almost going to do a different game for this, and I re-downloaded that mobile game, and it was filled with ads. It was an older mobile game that I had a lot of fond memories of playing as a kid, but every 2 seconds, ad, you finish a level, ad. And sometimes that's the case with a lot of them. They want you to buy an ad block, or they want you to buy the premium version of the game. But this is a game that was free, and that I have only ever seen an advertisement when I fail the daily challenge level. And instead of waiting an hour, you could try again if you watch an ad. Any other time, there is a full campaign to play, both for plants and for zombies, where you can just play through them. Or you could play random levels, you could play online, and yet I think despite this game coming out quite a while ago, I have yet to have a problem matching with anybody online. And while it does seem like a lot of their daily puzzles, I do think after, and this is something I realized after playing it for over a year, this was a while back, but I'm sure they still do, is a lot of their daily challenges are recycled. You know, I would assume probably every year. Or a longer period of time than that. Or maybe shorter, I don't know. But I'm losing the plot. The campaign is fun. Playing any cards is fun. When you lose, it feels like you either didn't do the right thing, or maybe you just got an unlucky draw of your cards. Like, that happens sometimes in card games. And when you win, it can feel very rewarding. And at the same time, it's very easy to pick up and understand. If I were to just talk it out loud, it might seem a little bit complicated, but when you see it in action, kind of like when you just jump into a game and playing it without immediately having to explain it, you get it incredibly quickly. So I do highly recommend this if you've played Plants vs. Zombies before and you've never played a strategy card game, which I hadn't before playing it. You'll pick it up really quickly, and it's still a lot of fun. You see a lot of recognizable faces, and then even if you haven't played Plants vs. Zombies before, I highly recommend it too. It's free, it's really fun, and like I said, you don't get hit with ads the same way you do with a lot of fun, wholesome, phone games, and it's a lot of the designs are still just really cute and wholesome. They'll throw little comics at you of like, oh, they're trying to defeat this hero during this campaign. And instead of it, let's say, being like, oh, they punched the hero or something, it's like, oh, they're all racing to somewhere and back. They're all fighting in an arcade, and then it turns out it was all just in one of the arcade cabinets. They keep it pretty PG, but I think it kind of lends itself to that wholesome avenue and allows it to be a bit cutesy, but also just fun at the same time.
I love the art style to this game. Like, I like all the characters and how unique each of them look is just really, really cool. And I guess these are all just like different takes on the original enemies from the main game.
Some of them are, some of them are not. Like, imps are a thing. Like, let's say if I look at the plant heroes, and I'm going to share with you guys a page that lists out the different heroes, and each of them even have different superpowers that only they can do, and each of them can only use certain types of plants or certain types of zombies depending on what class they are. And there is a bit of overlap between each of them, but it makes each hero feel very unique, and it makes you lean towards one of them over the other, but also, try to play with each one. While I don't like to listen to a lot of music in mobile games, I find the music is pretty interesting too, and everybody seems to have a different theme. But the plants in the everything's probably based on designs either from the first game or the second game. The second game I might not recognize as much because it's been a long time since I played that one. But you can obviously see the pea shooter, the sunflower, the walnut, I forget the fucking name of it in the original one, but the Chompzilla is based off of just the larger Venus flytrap that would eat a zombie whole, or Spado being a potato mine, stuff like that. And then other ones, being either obvious nods to Rose being a literal flower, or some of the other ones like Captain Combustible being a torchwood. And while I think some of the zombies are a little bit more unique, like Neptuna or Immortica or Professor Brainstorm, some of them you can recognize as Infinity is kind of supposed to be this play on all of the imps that you'll see, Electric Boogaloo, with a lot of the dancing ones, and you'll see a lot of recognizable faces too in the cards that you play. Or even Brain Freeze, who was this zombie yeti that was very difficult to find if you ever did find it in the game. But of course you do have some that are slight, variations or parodies of other superheroes you maybe have seen before. But they keep a lot of it pretty fun and pretty unique to them, and it makes me have a lot of fun with it.
I don't know if anyone else has anything to say about this, but tag yourself, I'm Citron.
That would be Citron.
Citron.
Let's look at them.
I could keep going on. It is really fun in the way that no two heroes or even no two games feel too dissimilar.
I'm Electric Boogaloo.
I do like the design of Electric Boogaloo with the afro and the little lightning rods out of the mask. Very nice.
I'm Epiatom.
God damn it.
Oh, that is a fucking throwback.
I'm Captain Combustible.
I feel like I am Wall Knight.
I'm Spado, as you guys can see by my current Discord name. But yeah, and they all have very specific superpowers. They all can be really fun, and as you play more, you unlock more. Of course, you can give your money, your hard-earned money, to buy more card packs, but originally when I was playing it for a while, because you earn gems through doing different challenges that, of course, will fill back up over a day or two, in those challenges you can get more gems, then you can buy more card packs. It makes it a lot. You can do that too, so it feels like you could still work hard at it and earn your success, and not just pay to win through it. But it gives you both options, and it's not unrealistic.
Would anyone have any thoughts on Plants vs. Zombies Heroes?
This game looks super cute.
I don't know if this is actually a hero, but I'm Sunny Your Shroom.
Oh my god, that looks like an item, but I love it.
I don't need to be a hero as long as I'm Sunny Your Shroom.
Well, I don't know. Walsh, could you clarify?
I don't even know where you're looking, man.
Kelsey posted a picture in the chat.
Oh no, that's one of the plants, but I love that one. That's one of the mushrooms that'll make sun.
I was looking at Solar Flare, and then, I don't know, I saw the word shroom, and I was like, ooh, because I'm one note, and then clicked on Sunny Your Shroom.
No, there's a lot of really fun things. Every card has a specific, maybe they fit into some kind of classification or a couple classifications. So maybe you'll have a whole pack full of mushrooms like that, and then you'll have certain plants that'll have an ability like all mushrooms get +1 attack and +1 health, things like that. Or all mushrooms do this, or all nuts do that. And then, so a lot of the plants will be classified by what kind of plant they are, while a lot of the zombies may be classified by their profession, their theme. All pirate zombies, all science zombies, all dancing zombies. A lot of those can have very specific things, especially then when you build your deck around a certain type of category. It can be a lot more useful and a lot it could be a strategy to lean into, and it gives you a lot of choices on what kind of strategies you want to play with.
Yeah, I find it really cool that, like, I mean, I think back to, like, when when I was back in school and people always had, like, either Pokemon or Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and how like strategy card games just kind of consistently have just stayed relevant and popular, especially with, like, the newer entries like this one, and then Runeterra, and then even, like, Inscription, who does, like, a whole different spin on it. Like, the fact that all these games are still so popular, I don't know, I think it's neat. It's not something I'm into, but I appreciate the genre for what it is.
Chris, honest to God, even if you don't think you're into, like, strategy card games, which I did not think I was into, I still wouldn't even consider myself too much into it, but it makes it so simple, and yet it's so simple, complexity can come from it. It's not like, oh, I have 300 attack points and my health is 4,400, and then you attack for 350. No, that plant's health is 2, their attack is 1, and your zombie's attack is 1 and their health is 1. So then you bring down my health by 1, and then I kill your zombie, and then each thing does its own turn. And it's incredibly simple to pick up, but then there's room for flexibility and for complexity.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it, like, it definitely has the art style that I love a lot. Very cartoony, doesn't take itself super seriously, and very, like, just, like, it just seems like it's a fun time, and a fun, like a good time that it very much feels like, hey, we're just having a good old time over here. Nothing too serious about it. I appreciate that a lot.
So just to interject on Walsh's last comments here, where he's like, I didn't think I was into strategy card games, and I still wouldn't say that I am. We literally invited Walsh to play Runeterra with us, and he fucking creamed us, and had not played the game before. So he's a fucking shark. I'm calling him out right now.
I think it was my training in Plants vs. Zombies.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's just a more complicated version of that.
We're like, oh yeah, we'll go easy on him. And then, like, literally after game 1, Anthony and I were like, fuck, don't go easy on him.
And then he never played the game again.
I know.
Well, because what am I gonna do? They're not cute little plants and funny little zombies.
He's already
Some
at
of
the
them
top.
are.
He's got nowhere to go.
Yeah, it just was really funny because it was like, oh yeah, he was being a good friend. He's like, oh, you guys are really interested in this. Like, yeah, I'll try it out. We can play together. And then we, like, got our fucking asses handed to us. I was like, oh, okay, well. He's like, I don't know. I guess I'll try it. And then
I will say, Walsh, I'm no advocate for Runeterra. Like, that's more Kelsey and Anthony's camp, but they do have those cute little furry creatures that you can just have a whole Poro. Yeah, you can have a Poro pack.
I almost
you can just have a whole card deck built around those guys.
I almost spoke about Braum and his Poros tonight.
Yeah, it's
as part of the Wholesome. I went back and forth forever on what I was going to talk about, but
yeah, if you need to get in through that the Poros are the way to go. But yeah, thank you so much, Walsh, for sharing Plants vs. Zombies here. I had no idea this existed. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like Plants vs. Zombies is something that just passed by me, even during its popularity, and
You would like Plants vs. Zombies, Chris.
Yeah, I think I would. I just didn't get latch on at the time, but I'll try it out.
I remember when the original game was first out and really popular when I was in high school.
100%. Yeah,
were super into it, and I could not fucking understand. But that also predates most of any interest I had in video games. I really only started getting into video games after I met a nerd in college. So
takes one to know one, Kels.
Okay. I didn't. That's the point. That was my point. Would be I had no idea. But thank you. So yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
So I also feel like I completely missed it, but in looking at it, it's definitely not my thing. But it looks cute.
Yeah, and Kels, kind of taking a complete pivot especially in its art style and vibes. We're gonna go to the super serious world of the Mass Effect trilogy. But you're gonna talk about a character arc that you found very wholesome.
Yeah, what's funny is that, like, I think I manipulated the assignment slightly. So
I like that, Matt. Just
yeah, because I went back and forth for so long, and, like, ultimately the reason why I'm calling this wholesome is I am an absolute fucking sucker for a really well done redemption arc, right? So, like, at this point, if anybody's afraid of spoilers for the Mass Effect trilogy, where the fuck have you been? But I'm just throwing out there, I'm covering from point A to point B the entire trajectory of a single character who is pretty significant in both Mass Effects 2 and 3. So if you do not want to hear about Mordin Solus and what the fuck is up, go away now. Besides having you here, but bye.
And so come back for the short hack discussion after the fact.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Bye. Nothing else to see here. I'm most important. So, all right. So I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible, but unfortunately there is, like, some information that I have to give you in order for you to understand the scope and depth and importance of the character and what went down. So, I gave some information on the Google Doc beforehand and some, like, a link to a video. Apparently we don't use the Google Doc except for Chris and I, so that's fine.
I forgot about the Google
There's
Doc.
nothing there. So essentially,
this is your warning shot to fucking use the Google Doc. There's a reason we have it.
like, there's nothing there except for what Chris and I posted, which is fine. But anyway, we're talking about this lad right here. His name is Mordin Solus. He is a Solarian as far as the races, alien races.
He's fucking hot.
Yeah, so he's by and large the most lusted after character in the game. Just kidding. But as far as the main group of aliens in the main species, there's really like 5 main species of alien besides humans. The Solarians are one of them. They are known predominantly for being very much scientific, analytical, very, like, kind of straight. Mordin is the, like, absolute top concentrated form of that. He's so analytical and scientifically minded, and he would really be considered, like, philosophically a consequentialist. And it's like he really believes that as long as the end justifies the means, anything is game. And that can be an ethical gray area, and you see that a lot with Solarian scientists. And even Mordin himself has made comments in the game saying things like, I mean, even if his methods were not ethical, he still produced good research and good data, and if that data can help us inform other things, then we have to use it. So it's just like just to give you an idea of, like, what the mindset is. So, he's a scientist Solarian. Part of the reason why I keep saying that, and that's why my name, is because there's a very famous clip okay, sorry, I'm getting all over the place. His character and his personality as this very straight, by the book, data-brained person is essentially his entire shtick. You have conversations with Mordin as Commander Shepard throughout. 2, he's a part of your league of people that you build based off of dossiers that you receive in order to fight against the big bad in the game. And then he shows up again in 3, but he's mostly in 2 and one of your main people that you work with. So you have conversations with him and he'll be like, sorry, can't talk to you right now. I gotta, like, do all this tests and everything. And then there are other things where he'll be like, he says something that's almost like very to the point in a way that's almost like risque, and he's just like, it's just how it is, and whatever. It's just his personality. But at one point you find out that he really likes to sing, which is so counter to who he is normally, like, so straight-laced. And so he actually sings and performs a song, if you're good enough friends with him, in the game in 2, that's called The Scientist Solarian. And it's performed almost as like a Broadway song, and he just kind of breaks out in it and performs it. And it's important that you know this, because it comes up later and is devastating. So you need to know this now. But Morden's background, because you essentially take these people in Mass Effect 2 that you gather this little army of the best people in the galaxy for their particular things that they're in charge of in order to fight the Collectors. What Morden's claim to fame is that he worked on something that is called the genophage. And the genophage was originally a biological weapon deployed against the Krogans, which is a race, another alien race in the game, that are these big, brutish, militant, ultimately painted as being very scary and very intimidating aliens that are in the game. I'm dropping some pictures, and this is a famous Krogan in the games called Urnot Rex, and then this is a generic photo of Krogans that you can encounter in the game, and then this is a chart of size comparison of Krogans being on the very, very far right compared to all the other races in the game. So these guys are like heavily armored, super intense, super muscular, and essentially their population was getting out of control as far as the Turians in the game were concerned, which is another race. And so the genophage was something that the Turians, there were Solarian scientists that developed the genophage for the Turians. It was believed that the consequences at first of the genophage as it was created, which was essentially, it wasn't meant as a sterility plague, but essentially it was designed to severely reduce the Krogan in numbers by infecting them with a genetic mutation. And so, because it resulted in a low frequency of viable births and the Krogans' penchant for violence and indifference about really anything, like they're just brutish. And so they weren't really focused on breeding. It didn't really like, their foresight and long sight for the longevity of their race wasn't really something that they were aware of before this happened, but they essentially became a dying breed that was on the brink of extinction in the events. This is like where you are when you come into the game. So it turns out that because the Turians were only focused on wanting to like retaliate against the Krogans being this brutish, overpopulated race, they released the genophage, and ultimately I'm losing my words. The extinction is one thing, but it also created a psychological impact on them that was devastating, because they were essentially like disposing of like piles of dead children. Like it is so gruesome what they did to the Krogans. But the Solarians were like, hey, the ends justify the means, so it's fine.
Yeah, I just got in here. So far, that part of the
this isn't wholesome yet. We're getting there.
Extremely wholesome.
I know. I know. I told you. I think that I manipulated the assignment, but I promise that I'm going to get you there if you just let me wade through it. And yes, I'm trying to go as quickly as possible.
Absolutely. No, I thought that was very funny, because specifically that part was like, holy fuck.
I know. So, and there is no known cure for the genophage at the time that you are playing the Mass Effect Trilogy, especially in like 1 and 2, and in 2 when you're talking to Morden. Now, Morden was not a part of the original team of Solarians that developed the genophage. However, at some point, there was the Krogans seems to be developing a resistance to the genophage and just genetically modifying themselves over time naturally to help a little bit with that. Morden was directly involved in a special task force team. You find out because he's guilty about it, and he confesses at some point in 2 that he helped redevelop and distribute a strengthening measure to the genophage. So he helped further along the potential extinction of the Krogan for all the original reasons, but does voice concern and guilt over that. And then the events of Mass Effect 2 happen, and theoretically, if you play the game correctly and you earn Morden's loyalty in 2, he will not die, and you will see him again in Mass Effect 3. So if you do see him again in Mass Effect 3, you track him down. You just kind of happen upon him on another planet as you're moving around, because the events in 3 don't follow the same in 2. You're not necessarily seeking out to collect people. You kind of just like find your buddies along the way and with a few other people. So you end up on a mission in particular after you see Mordin, where you find out that Mordin has done research and worked with a student of his, with data that he has from a student of his, enough that oh wait, hold on, I want to make sure that I'm doing this the right thing here. I'm looking through my notes. I have like a ton of notes. Okay, sorry. So, sorry. Shepard, can I say? Yes, okay. So you find out that through research that Mordin believes that he has created a cure for the genophage. And so for him, this is a something that he decides that he wants to do, that given the Reaper invasion that he says, you know, we really could use the Krogan. We need a unified threat against the Reapers. But you can tell that it's like a weird change of heart for somebody so scientific and so dead set on what they originally did, that Shepard's character, you have the opportunity to ask more questions and figure out why he has the change of heart. And so he uses that scientific, like, you know, we need a unified threat against it. But he also says that he's getting old and believes that he's the best candidate of the project, and feels that it's his job to get things right, as the stakes are too high for the inexperience and failure of somebody else to do it, and does lean into the remorse and regret of doing what he did to the Krogans with what he had in his hands to do that. So the mission, TLDR, the mission ends up being that you have a single female Krogan who can viably carry life, that they used her and tested on her to create a sort of medicine that they can distribute to the Krogans on a particular planet that has a Solarian device that can distribute it into the air so that all of the Krogans can be cured of the genophage. I don't know if it's a full cure or whatever, but Mordin and Shepard go to that planet to execute that. They get attacked, I believe by a Reaper invasion. But right before they get attacked, Mordin and Shepard are kind of just like shooting the shit on their way, on their mission to release this cure for the genophage. And Shepard asks Mordin what he's going to do once they win the war, once the war is over against the Reapers. What is he going to do since his work will have made such an impact on the galaxy? And he said that he would like to settle someplace sunny on a beach and start collecting seashells. Shepard teases him that he'd go restless in an hour, and Mordin quips that he would probably have to run some tests on the seashells in order to keep busy. Then they get attacked. They're in the facility. Mordin's trying to get to the exit, and it becomes very clear that one of three things can happen. Either Shepard insists that he saves Mordin, and Mordin does not get to execute the cure for the genophage, and it's lost. And so the genophage stays around, the cure is lost, they do not recover it within the timeline of you playing the game. Or Shepard lets Mordin go up into the facility and release the genophage, but Mordin will die. There is no, you either keep, there is one other scenario, there's a third option where he both cures it and you save Mordin. That is not my playthrough. That does not happen for most people. It requires a particular set of things to happen in order for that to go down. So as far as I'm concerned, the true gameplay is that if you do it correctly and you choose the right options, you allow Mordin to go up into the facility to produce and release the genophage cure in the facility. But Mordin and Shepard have a brief exchange before he goes up to do that. And he essentially says what I alluded to before, where he says, it was my project and my work. I have to be the one to do it. And And the most iconic line of sending Morden up onto the ship, because Shepard knows and acknowledges that he's not going to come back, is he says, it had to be me. And that is like, when you're watching this and you know everything that happened and you lived through it, because it's hard when I'm explaining it narratively, and you didn't experience it, your eyes are glazing over, but to experience the character as he has existed and see how strong he was about how he felt about the genophage throughout all of 2, to now be at this point where he's like, I have to do it, somebody else would have gotten it wrong. It kills you. It puts a knife through your heart. And it's an extremely wholesome character arc to experience, even if the subject matter and the whole thing is very violent and dark. I told you I manipulated the assignment, but it is like one of the best storylines and character arcs I've ever experienced in the game. Then they do it even further to you. They fucking break your heart further, because Morden is now up in the facility, and you literally watch the facility start to go on fire and be attacked as he's trying to release the genophage. He just sets up the system while the place starts burning down, and he starts singing to himself his Scientist Solarian song in order to keep himself calm, to get the genophage out to the people. I swear to God, I was rewatching it last night, and I forgot that they literally blow him up on screen as he's singing his song. They do the thing where they do the little dash at the end, like he hasn't finished his line, and you literally watch him explode into pieces. Super wholesome. And then so he dies, and what ends up coming out of it after the fact is you have the fan base, right? And this is what to me makes it more wholesome. Fully and collectively, the fans of this game who loved Morton Solus lost their living shit when this happened. Like, he was such a beloved character, and to have him have this character arc and then just to have him die was very upsetting. But ultimately what it boils down to is that so much fan art has come out where Morton Solus is on his beach that he wanted, and that people treat it kind of as like his afterlife, that he will find his beach to be able to test on the seashells. And people also make fan art of him with Krogan babies, that he would have, because he released the genophage, that he, in some way, even if just spiritually, gets to see the population reborn, in something that he was able to course correct after feeling guilty about what he previously did. Wholesome.
Wow.
Anyway, it's a lot of information. It's a very good game. It's what I ultimately landed on to talk about because nothing else seemed to make sense.
Yeah. It's a shame. Next month we were going to do tragic character deaths, and I mean, this is like you already used up that one.
I am not. Everybody who's listened for this long knows that I am not opposed to reusing things. So I will be back to talk about more Morden.
I'm just kidding. That's not actually what we're doing next month. But yeah. I was poking fun, but I totally get where you're coming from in terms of the choice, because it's nice to have a moment where things are so like serious and a lot of people like play these games, they just want the action, they just want like the bloodshed, they don't really look into it deeper. And when you have a story arc that is so meaningful and impactful, and you learn about character and the things that they have done and the burdens that they carry and how that kind of plays an impact on the rest of the story, it is like a really meaningful emotional experience. And I totally understand like how this yeah, the circumstance definitely is not like cute and adorable or anything like that, any of the under the umbrella of the wholesome, but it is. I think it's. I think it still falls under it if you're looking at it from the perspective of this is a character who had an arc that realized that he was a part of something that he did not feel good about, and he carried that burden, and the fact that he felt like at the end of the day he was able to right that wrong even if it meant his life. Like the fact that he was able to do that is just so amazing and emotional and extremely intense in many ways. And also, like, the whole it is just a commentary on the word wholesome in general. Like, even like the people who run Wholesome games have talked about this. Like, Wholesome is not trying to just shield the world of the darkness that exists in it. It's more so just like, these are spaces and things that, like, we could cover heavy topics, but do it in a way that is not going to be, like, so super, well, this is super intense, but, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of the best way to put it. It's not, like, it's not meant to be like, oh, nothing's bad here, you could just exist and everything is all happy and joyful and la la. It's not. There is going to be moments of that there can still be moments of sadness and grief and moments like this that, like, that are intense. And I think overall, like, you could find wholesome moments in times that are really, really dark and scary, and this is one of those moments in a trilogy. So
something that was really important that I completely did not mention was the GIF I just posted in just before Morden goes up in the elevator to his death. As he knows and is facing it, he says that one of the last things he says to Shepard is that I would have liked to have run tests on the seashells, meaning he's recognizing that he's not going to actually get to the retirement that he hoped that he would see, because he's doing this as his last event. Which is what inspires all of the fan art of him ultimately on the beach. Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
I really enjoy when Kelsey, like, gets super passionate about, like, stories in these games, because I like hearing her thought process on stuff like this.
Yeah.
I feel like I just did this so dirty, but thank you. There's so much, you know what it is? It's just there's so much, but I don't want to bore the shit out of everybody. And it's, like, very much something that is fed to you over hours and hours and hours of gameplay across 2 whole parts of the trilogy. So
Yeah,
sure.
I tried to do as much as I could.
Yeah.
You did a great job.
Yeah, no, I think you landed, you stuck the landing on it. It's definitely, like,
Morden.
definitely a tone changer for sure. But
well, I love that I do this. We come off of Plants vs. Zombies. I do this, and then you're going to go into a short hike.
Yes.
It's just very much like a whiplash. Enjoy.
I love it. But I definitely I respect the fuck out of Mass Effect and the way it tells and the way they do storytelling. And obviously, like, games would not be what they are today without Mass Effect. And this is yet another example of how well they did storytelling back then. Like, it just is excellently done.
And, like, this is one character that I could talk about for this. There are, like, every character has this much depth, and so many of them you actually see full circle storylines for. So, like, the narrative is fucking nuts, just so nuts for the game. So,
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. I totally love this, and I feel like to cap off on a short hike feels right for a very unique wholesome games journey that we've all been through. Because just to transition, unless anyone has anything left to say about Mass Effect and Scientist Solarian.
I hate when characters start talking about all the things they're gonna do when this conflict is over.
You kind of know. Yeah, like, you know that shit's not gonna go well for them. I do that with shows too. Like, as soon as somebody's like, I can't wait to do this when this is over, I'm like, oh, they did. They did before they go in.
Yeah, rip.
Nice knowing you.
So to close things out, it is my turn, and you know, I've this is gonna be an interesting place to start for me, but, like, I've grew up loving Animal Crossing, and I loved how it was so different from other games because there wasn't this challenge to it. There was no, like, end goal that was, like, really, unless you set it for yourself, like whether it's paying off your mortgage or completing the museum, like there's just live in it. You just exist in it. And I think that's because Animal Crossing has always been my favorite game series. It's been hard to find other games that kind of have that same amount of chill to it. And I feel like in more recent years, having been playing a shit ton more games and being more into video games than I've ever have, I have found that there is there's a lot of games out there that do embrace the we want you to just be able to exist and live in this world and have fun in it, and not necessarily like fight baddies and be a hero. You don't need to do that in these games. And I think one of the premier best wholesome games that I think has ever been made is a game called A Short Hike. It is from Adam Robson Yu, also known as Adam Guru, and he is he's just an independent developer who had been working on a bigger project. He's been working on kind of like a Paper Mario-esque game, and he decided to take a break from it, and he started working on A Short Hike, and he played he played a few games that kind of inspired him to make like a really short, like a more shorter experience, because ultimately the shorter games can also be successful. And two games that I see cited on Wikipedia that he talks about is Minute, which I haven't played, but I've always wanted to try, and The Haunted Island, the Frog Detective game, which I fucking love the Frog Detective games. They're so weird. They're so fucking weird. I love them. Anyways, so then he started building on this game and expanding it, and ultimately released A Short Hike. And the premise is you are a anthropomorphic bird named Claire, and who's goes on a trip with her Aunt May, who works as a ranger at the Hawk Peak Provisional Park. And at one point, basically once you get there, the aunt tells her that there's no cell phone reception, but if you want cell phone reception, you can make it to the top of Hawk Peak. And she kind of hints at the fact that she is expecting kind of an incoming call, and it's kind of urgent. And so she wants to make it to the top. Now, to get there, you have to you need to kind of build the strength to be able to climb and fly up to the top of the mountain. You can't fly up, but you have to climb up to the mountain. And so you have to do these quests, and you just walk around a miniature open world environment where you talk to these characters. And one of the first quests you get is, hey, can you gather like 15 seashells? And if you go along the beach, or even if you go into like the hills, you can find these little seashells gathered around, and you could just gather them. And the goal of the game is to collect a ton of golden feathers, and these golden feathers will help build up your stamina for being able to climb up, and also being able to sprint more as well. And it's just this nice little game where you are interacting with these characters, learning about the various activities that they take part in on the in this park, and you are just you kind of like help them along the way. Sometimes you are playing games like one of the sports that are very popular in this park is called beach stickball, which is essentially volleyball but played with sticks. And you if you volley a certain amount of time, you get a golden feather. If you keep on volleying, you end up getting a hat that you could put on Claire. And it's just these very miniature, cute tasks that, like, I don't know. I think about open world games a lot and how many people just love getting lost in them. This is a game that is so perfect to get lost in because at every corner there is something to look for. At some point in the game, you get a shovel and you can dig up these little dig holes that's very reminiscent of Animal Crossing. And like there's random chests that you could find. Sometimes they have money in them, sometimes they have golden feathers. And you are just kind of hanging out on this island with the ultimate goal to try to make it to the very top of this mountain and receive the phone call that you've been waiting for. And I don't want to get into spoilers on that front, because I do think that people should play this game. It is really, if you are going to mainline the fuck out of this game, this as the name implies, this game is about like an hour, maybe 2 hours long. But if you want to explore everything and do everything in this world, it is you could really sink your teeth into it. It's like I spent like 6-7 hours just platinuming the game earlier this year, and it is just which I mean I know 6-7 hours is also still a very short experience, but I think it doesn't have to be anything that's like massive, and you could still get that satisfaction of having explored everything. There's points in the game where you can just like trail off, and you at one point you find a boat rental place, and you can take a boat out for a spin, and then you realize that there are some other islands out there that you can explore, and then interact with people on those islands and get rewards from them. That includes other outfits that you can get for Claire, and also this thing called a silver feather, which increases your speed while climbing or running. There are races that you could participate in. There is a painter that you can talk to who will pop up everywhere, and ultimately that will give you a golden feather. Like, there's so much depth to this game for being so simple in nature, and I love the writing in this game. It's very much this chill, like laid back, and also just very funny in like the dialogue and how everyone's pretty awkward with each other. Because that's just I there's just something that's so delicate about everyone just being awkward. Because when everyone's awkward, you kind of all feel at home at that point, and no one's just being and then especially when you read into characters that aren't as nice to you, you then kind of learn about why maybe that they have the attitudes that they do. It is just one of my favorite gaming experiences. It has completely, like, since the first time I played it all the way till now, it has just moved consistently up my favorite games list to the point where I think that this is my favorite indie game behind Undertale. Like, I really, really, really love this experience so much, and it's I cherish like any time I get to spend time with this. And one of my favorite memories is playing this with Kelsey and Anthony while I was hanging out with them, and watching them experience things, watching them do things that I hadn't done in the game before. There's fishing in this game, by the way, so you could just spend time just filling out a catalog if you want. You don't have to. That is not at all a priority in the game, but you can if you want. It's very good. It's like, if you want an open world game that there's no combat in it and no pressure, this is it. This is the perfect game for you. But anyone have any thoughts on A Short Hike?
Could I just jump in really quick, because we played it with you, because you just mentioned that?
Absolutely.
I moved your images over from the doc into the chat if anybody wants to look at the art style or anything. To your point about it first of all, I didn't understand what you were saying when you were like, it only takes an hour. I was like, I know for a fact I spent an entire weekend in my living room playing this game, so I do not
absolutely.
know why
that's why that's why I was going to get to. Yeah.
Right, no, so you did. I just didn't understand at first what you were saying, but I would personally victimize somebody that is speedrunning this. Do not speedrun this game. Do not speedrun this game, and enjoy every little nugget it has to offer. The only time I would be okay with somebody speedrunning this is if it was for fucking charity. Like, that's the only time you're allowed to speedrun this. You should savor every little thing that this game has to offer. It is so rich. It is so beautiful. It is so funny. Like, the last image Chris included was of this being on that little boat he was talking about. This little fucking fox raccoon thing is such a little shit in this game, and like is completely obsessed with the chaos of bringing this boat out and like destroying things with it. Like, just totally, at least that's what I remember. But like totally into like, yeah, let's take the boat out and like, who cares if we hit into things or get a few scratches. And it's just, it is one of my all-time favorite memories being forced to play this. Because I'm a little shit and I will not take suggestion, and I will not sit and want to play something that somebody else is suggesting to me. I would have told you that based off of the art style of this game and premise that it was not for me, and it is by and large one of my favorite indie games that I've ever touched.
Yeah, this game is little shit simulator. You just get to do little mischievous things, and I'm somebody who loves that. Like, with stickball, you can just... I popped the stick because... I popped the ball because I used something... I think I used the shovel instead of a stick. And it's like, if you think you can do something in this game, they are probably going to let you do that.
Like, they anticipate you going outside the lines.
Oh, yeah, and there's never any serious consequence. Like, everybody will just think it's funny and then move on. And it was just such a wonderful experience. I love this game so much.
Yeah. I platinumed it earlier this year, but I bet you there's still something that I didn't do in it. Like, every single time I've picked it up, I'm either reminded of something that I've completely forgotten, which is why it's kind of hard to talk about it, because there is just a lot to this game. Or there's something that happens and I'm like, wait, what the fuck? I've never seen this before. And I think that's just what adds to the charm. And I think it's ironic that it's called a short hike, where you really doesn't have to be short at all if you don't want it to be. And and the reason why I just call it one of the more quintessential Wholesome games, because it is a game that can fill you with just the amount of adventure, just the amount of curiosity, and even some of the story beats that I think that some may argue don't like always land. I personally would say like I think it's something that like so many major games out there fall short on, that this little game excels at. And I really think it is a must play for anyone into not just Wholesome games in general, but just pick it up and play it for like a little bit of time that you have, even if it's just for like just for a short time, because it is you're gonna find some sort of joy in it, I think.
I also think that ingenuity and bringing something new to the table, and setting yourself apart should be celebrated, so much in literally any genre of video games, because I am so fucking tired of the same game over and over again, just redone in it, like with a little bit of a tweak. Wow, look, an indie game that's not a fucking farm simulator. That is fucking amazing. Because they chose to do something unique and different and did it well. Like, so, I don't know. I think that is something that should be celebrated. Because
You go ahead. Say what you're saying.
No, this is just, it is, and I'm somebody that likes the farm sims. But, like, I'm so tired of them all being the same. And this, to me, felt so fresh. And might have little elements of things that you can find in other games. But overall, the package and the delivery is a brand new experience that you'll not find anywhere else. And also, I'm a little sad that we can't talk about what the phone call is, because to me that is one of the most wholesome parts of the entire game. Like, you think this game is wholesome already, when you experience that last few minutes of the game, of the resolution of if you get your phone call, spoiler, you get your phone call, and what but what is on the other end of that call is not something that you could have predicted, and is so good and so wholesome. So
yeah, I think to your point, like, I think that there are a lot of people that just assume that when you do, especially now that these kind of games are becoming more popular, you do hear like, oh, so you're into like the farming games. I'm gonna be honest, I'm not into any farming games.
You're not, no.
like Stardew Valley, I've tried many times. I'm just not into the whole farming thing, and that's fine. And I think I wish that more people realize like you don't have to just do farming to have a nice like calming experience. You could have more fun ideas to it, and there is so many games I could have talked about for this topic. I chose a very a topic that I have definitely covered my bases on, especially in the last few years.
I told Chris that this topic was like Chris Games, the topic.
Basically. Well, that's why I think that's why we did it for September, right? Because it's your birth month.
I was kind of being tongue in cheek about that, but yes, exactly. I love any game that just doesn't have combat and action beat at the forefront, because I just don't think that alone needs to make a good game. I think if you like that stuff, that's totally cool. I don't want to trash that stuff. There's some amazing action combat games out there.
No, fuck those games.
But it's we're so totally saturated by that in video games that having these experiences, I think, is so standout, and I think that's why I love that umbrella of Wholesome as like, hey, like this is something that's a little bit different to try out. And I again, A Short Hike is like number 1 on the Wholesome games list, and you all should check it out. It is truly special. And with that, oh, one last thing, Mark Sparling, shout out to this man. He made a soundtrack for this, and he hadn't made I don't think he did any other video game soundtrack before it, and it is awesome. It is such a delightful soundtrack, and this would have been probably in a soundtrack conversation, honestly, if we ever get back to doing one of those.
I'm sure we will. It's everybody's favorite thing to talk about. So.
Yeah, so it is. He did such a good job. He only just recently did another video game soundtrack. I think for Curse to Golf, he did the soundtrack for it. But before he did A Short Hike, and it's not a ton of songs in this game, but the ones that he did do so fit the tone of the game and get you so into it. Like whenever the song comes on, it just fills me with joy. He kicked ass on it, and so did Adam Rumsky and everyone. Don Blair, Andrew Wan, all of those people who ended up making this game. You are all awesome. I appreciate you. Anyways, thank you, everyone, for listening. Next month, we have, in the past, done spooky games for October. But this time around, I want to know what your favorite spooky character is from a video game. Alright? So that opens up the door for like, hey, maybe there's a lot of games that we've talked about. It's hard to keep pulling out new games. So maybe go back, see if there's a spooky character that for you stands out. And that means, Gabe, you could break out the Five Nights at Freddy's shit. Anyways, thank you all so much for listening. Game on. The Gaming Coop is brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Follow us on Twitter at The Gaming Coop, or follow our other work at Team Chaos Pods.